questions during your lecture, submitting anonymous questions, doing activities related to the material, assigning a section to students and allowing them to present. And then I do have a disclaimer here that a professor may be willing to do none of those things if they are very rooted in the way that they teach. But a student has a right to go in and ask if the teaching style just does not work for them. And you know, maybe an old dog can learn new tricks. You just never know, but a student does have a right to ask. So what I'm telling a student not to say is, this class sucks. Or, the professor's just a jerk. She doesn't even care that we're not paying attention. So what I'm really trying to do in this book is just, I'm really just trying to start some sort of a little revolution just to get students and professors talking to each other and with each other and getting some dialogue going and having students try to feel comfortable with opening up. And if they don't want to take the words exactly, that's totally fine, but just giving them a place to start and hoping that it makes a difference to them. And we'll see. I mean, I guess only time will tell. So far, the feedback has been good, but it's, you know, students are really struggling out there. I mean, I've been back in the classroom just a couple weeks now, and it's even a little worse than I thought a year ago when I was there. And students are struggling. I mean, at least I'm seeing it, and I'm very worried about how students are being impacted by the technologies that they're buried in. So I would like to see them, you know, working through some of these things, and I think that professors can help. What I'm really trying to help students realize is this, and this will be my final thought, and that is that we are safe. Professors are safe. Most of us, we're the training ground. That college is the place. Fumble with us, mess it up with us, but use us as the training ground, as the communication training ground, because communication, face-to-face communication, is still very much alive and well out there in the world. It's still very needed out there in the world. So learn communication with us. Let us help you hone it and craft it and work it, and then you can carry those skills on with you for life. And that's what most of us are very happy to help students do, if students will take ownership and responsibility, and we're usually then very, very receptive. So I'm trying to open those doors. So thank you, and I'm glad to take any questions, but yes. So that's my book. Sure.
I was really struck by your comment about students all being buried in their technologies, that they're not interacting with each other. And, you know, I mean, I don't know why I should be surprised by this, since I see it everywhere else in the world, but I was brought back to memories of my own college experience where more than half of what I learned in college came from other students. And so I'm actually, it's really interesting. And do you see any hope for the culture at large? I mean, not every kid on campus can read this book, so like even if
how you doing, hey buddy?
If I have my way.
Even if 5% of the, you know, very motivated kids are, you know, improving their face-to-face communication, are given it. How can the larger culture of, you know, buried in work that adults, you know, change so that kids can interact with each other?
I mean, I think that it's going to have to be, a cultural shift. Before I came here, I really wanted to like prime myself, and I watched a TED Talk by Dr. Sherry Turkle. She is an MIT professor who wrote this book called Alone Together, and her TED Talk, I really encourage. I think every human being right now needs to watch it, and I think especially every parent needs to watch it. It's called Connected Together, and she's a psychologist, and her research has to do with how technologically entrenched we are, and how it's really making us just, you know, like communication-wise, it's making us more. She basically has we have very similar messages, except mine is.
Good afternoon, Barnes & Noble guests. Introducing Nook HD and Nook HD Plus, the lightest tablets of their kind. Pre-order yours today for free and absolutely no obligation necessary. The 7-inch screen Nook HD starts at only $199. So head to our customer service desk to pre-order yours today. Thank you for shopping at Barnes & Noble, and have a great day.
Except my message is, my message is for the college set, and my message has to be specifically around students and their professors, and hers is for, basically the world at large. But what she is saying, and it's just so true, is that, what she is saying is, it's like people are, like, she's saying that her daughter's 20, and she feels that that generation is becoming very afraid to be alone, and that the text bursts, the bursts of the text and the Facebook updates, it's not teaching them how to read facial expressions, it's not teaching them, and that when you lose the art of conversation, you lose the art of being able to, you lose the art of also being able to talk within yourself. So the thing is, how do we help the rest? I think that it's going to be up to us, and according to her, it's creating, what she says is creating sacred spaces for conversation, and that it's going to be up to us, all of us, for whom technology is an additive, to force our younger people to keep a certain percentage of their time not in this, that we're going to have to force them. And I am making a battle cry for every educator out there to close the communication loop with their students. I have a piece that I've just written for Inside Higher Ed that will be out, and I just wrote another piece for Teachers College Record out of Columbia that actually was just published, where I'm really asking every educator, regardless of your discipline, when a student makes a communication gaffe or a bungle, that rather than fixing, and I'm guilty of it too, so I'm not saying, oh, you guys all do it and I was perfect, because I was so not perfect. I did the same thing. A student would say one of these things, and I would walk down the hall to my colleague and say, can you believe what the student just said? And then we have colleagues, people all over the country, faculty are posting on Facebook. We're not telling the student what they did wrong. We just get mad. And then the student is mad, and then they post about us on Facebook. So everybody's posting about each other, everyone's complaining about each other, but we're not closing the loop. So what my battle cry is that I want, and I need to do it too, and now I'm practicing it also, and it's not easy, but where we sit back down and we say, okay, this is how that could have gone down a little bit differently, and in the workplace, this is how that needs to happen. So closing that communication loop. So I think that those things will help. If parents and people for whom technology has not always been a part of our lives, I don't know what age cutoff that would be, if we force folks for whom it's different to have a certain percentage of time where we have those sacred spaces for conversation, and then educators also come to the table, and we are continuing those conversations about communication, then I think that we have a chance to then keep everyone talking, keep everyone in the art of communication. That's a really long answer. I'm figuring it out too, because I'm worried. I feel really worried. It is worrisome. It is worrisome. And I can't even just say that it's younger. I can't say that it's quote unquote younger people, because I'm seeing kind of everybody go to texting, and it's driving me insane, because I don't even like it, and I'm doing it. It's driving me nuts. I know, it's driving me nuts, and I blog about it. Yeah, it's upsetting.
I just have a question, it's sort of a tangent, but thinking about, like, in the classroom, how kids are communicating. I know, like, in college, for me, some of my best classes were very discussion-based.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if you're seeing an impact on that, on the students' ability to have a discussion with each other, with you, surrounding whatever the topic, may be. Are kids still, talking, I guess, in the classroom?
In my classes, they're still talking. Are they still talking in your class?
They
It teaches what they teach us to.
Yeah. It depends. I mean, it's certainly grown less. But I've also been changing, just in the last year, I've been changing the stuff that I do to try to encourage it. One thing I will say is that in the advising that I've had going on in the last 2 years, I've had more students who have been taking online courses who now are asking me for alternatives to that, because they very quickly found that it's not the right environment for them, and that they are really feeling pain not having a class around them that's doing the same thing and not having interaction with be a little harder for them to find too, since we're expanding those.
See, and gosh, I'm going through this whole philosophical shift. I've won 2 national awards in learning, and I just told Jeff Wagnitz, my vice president, that I've had a whole philosophical shift now. I'm so worried that I can't go back fully online because I'm too worried. I am teaching fully online, but I'm using Tegrity. I want my students to have 2 phone calls with me so they hear my voice. I don't know that I can go back to it fully. I want to write a piece for the Chronicle of Higher Education about colleges creating those sacred spaces, tech-free zones. I don't know, like I'm feeling really confused and worried because I'm worried. I'm worried. I'm worried about students laying on carpets with technology. I'm worried about signage around campuses, you know, with pictures. I've been reading about this on Twitter, you know, signage on campuses with not students with backpacks slung and talking to each other, but rather students engaged in technology. It's even colleges are having to cater to that now. Colleges are chasing students down. They're not even emailing students anymore because students say too many words. Students want voicemail to go away. I just read this in USA Today College. Students want voicemail to go away because it's too many words. And if we start picking off everything that's too many words, where are we then? Where are we then? That's why it's got to be up to us to bring it all back. It's all, yeah.
I think we are starting to see some of these same things happening in the workplace. You know, I think some of the older generation in my office, we struggle a little bit with the younger generation, like how to engage them in group discussions, and how they can kind of have those same interactions with their supervisor, like a student would with the professor. So does that look like this for?
I've been asked about that. Like, say this not that to your boss, say this not that to your whatever. I'm like, well, but yeah, you know, it's worrisome. It's all really worrisome. I mean, you know, I don't know. It's worrisome. So we have to bring them back. That's the thing. I just keep going back to the sacred spaces for conversations. I really love Dr. Turkle's. I love that thought. The sacred, what's that?
Maybe I'll make everyone watch that.
Yeah, no, oh my gosh, I'm telling you, my class is doing a whole paper around it. I'm making them go on a 3-day Facebook and texting diet. They were like, "Rah!" I'm like, sorry, 3-day, they have to watch that, they have to write a midterm paper on it, and around it they have to go on a 3-day Facebook and texting. They have to up the communication richness for 3 days. They have to go see people and talk to them. And they have to report out. I've done this once before, a year ago, and they really reported that it was amazing. And it was really funny in that particular class. I had a pregnant, I had a mom. She already had 1 child. She was having her 2nd child. She said people were shocked that she was actually calling them to report the sex of the 2nd baby. I was like, that's kind of scary that people were like, is something wrong with the baby? She's like, no, I'm calling to tell you what the sex of the baby is, because she was finding out during that time. So, you know, but this thing with students and their professors, I mean, let's look at the benefits. It stands to get them better, more confidence, more competence, but better grades. My goodness, better grades. Because you know, I mean, I read over and over and over again in college success advice, and this makes me insane, where students will, you know, when students write about it, oh, your professor will like you more, or you'll get in better with them. But that's not really what it is. If you're talking to your professor more, inevitably, you're talking more about assignments. You're closing the feedback loop. You're talking more about the work. So yes, you're going to get better. It's not your professor likes you more, so they'll give you better grades. I always counter that with I hope that is a myth. I want that to be a myth. You're talking about the work. You're talking more about the work. So that's, I mean, so anyway, I'm trying to push the revolution.
Well, I think what's happening there is, especially if they're in regular conversation with the professor, then they're really present in the class. I mean, they're present in the experience of their education. And like I teach a design class, and I ask the students how many of them draw, and I would say them to raise their hand. And I ask how many want to draw, and almost all of them do. So for the rest of them, I say, well, how often do you practice at it? And I have to explain to them, like, I don't know anybody who doesn't draw or doodle on a daily basis who gets worse. You know, they get better because of practice. And so if they're connected to the teacher, it's not just that they're getting better grades because the teacher knows them and is going to give them a favorable grade. It's that they're present in the class, and it's something that, you know, and also the teacher will be certainly more aware of where they're, you know, where they might be struggling, and be more, I mean, there is the chance that your instructor will be more readily available to say, I see this happening, you know, you might want to double down on this part of, you know, studying or something.
Right.
So, yeah, but it's really, I think it's presence. I think it's really being.
They're right. It's when I read that kind of stuff, it makes me crazy. Like, oh, your professor getting good with them. Or I even read that if you jog with your professor, they will. I know. It's like, really? Oh my gosh. If you jog with your professor, then they will like you more. So anyway, well, again, I'm so appreciative. It's you know, we just all have to talking. That's what we have to do, talking and reading each other's facial expressions. And teaching our kids and our students how to do that. That's what we need to do. Yeah. So, what's the time? What are we doing? What now? What are we doing?
We can sign books if anybody
Moving on
wants
to
to get
books.
one.
Okay, great. So
Any
thank
other
you.
questions?
Yay.